The Celtics and Lakers are engaged in trade discussions for the 26-year-old six-time All-Star. Adrian Wojnarowski has been reporting that the Pelicans hope to trade Davis before the NBA draft, which is now 8 days away. Great to have Woj here and joining us now. Let's start with the Lakers here. Where do they stand in these trade talks?
Los Angeles has put in their offer Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, the fourth pick in next Thursday's NBA draft. Those are the players involved in the discussion. So far, we're told Kyle Kuzma is not a part of it. What New Orleans would like, in the conversations they've had, are taking that number 4 pick and canvassing teams around the league to see if they can flip number 4 into a young star or a veteran star around the league who would be sent to New Orleans, and then that third team would take the 4th overall pick. That's where the talks are centered right now with L.A.
All right, we'll get to the Celtics and what they're talking about right now in a moment. But let's talk about this recent conversation that Anthony Davis's agent Rich Paul had with SI, telling them they could trade for him. That is the Celtics, but it'll be for 1 year in the event that he decides to walk away and give away assets. Don't blame Rich Paul, as Davis can become a free agent in the summer of 2020. So how do the Celtics view the idea of maybe having Anthony Davis in Boston as a 1-year rental?
Well, Boston all along has been determined to still use the assets they have to get in an Anthony Davis trade. It was complicated. It's been complicated by the fact that Kyrie Irving has seriously considered leaving Boston in free agency. They had hoped that getting AD, having Kyrie, would convince both of them to sign long term. But Boston so far has been undeterred. They've heard this since the fall. Anthony Davis Sr. Said that to Ramona Shelburne earlier this year. Rich Paul has privately told the Celtics that, but Danny Ainge so far is stayed in these conversations, and he has been engaged with David Griffin in New Orleans. Remember, Dave Griffin came up in the Phoenix Suns organization underneath Danny Ainge, probably as close to him as any GM in the league.
You mentioned the assets. What are the assets you're hearing in Boston right now?
Listen, I think Boston's assets are more fluid. It's very clear in LA who you're going to put in a deal. But there's really 2 ways to go in Boston. If Boston is willing to do Jayson Tatum and maybe not a lot else, or perhaps a deal built around Jaylen Brown and then a bevy of those future Boston picks. But the one thing with New Orleans, if Tatum did get into an offer, he's the best available player for the Pelicans, probably in any deal they might talk to.
Okay, now how does this KD injury now impact Boston when it comes to the trade talks?
It emboldens Boston to believe they can re-engage Kyrie Irving now and say, listen, we can give you your co-star running mate here for the next several years in Anthony Davis, because right now, you know, KD, if they were to go to a New York or a Brooklyn together, as they had considered the possibility of doing, both those teams have max salary slots available for both. Kevin Durant's going to be a redshirt next year. He's not going to play next season. And then he'll be coming back off an Achilles injury at 32 years old. It opens the door back up for Boston to sell an Anthony Davis-Kyrie Irving partnership with the Celtics.
All right, keep these 2 dates in mind. June 20th is the NBA draft. June 30th is when NBA free agency can begin. Woj, thank you so much. Sage?
All right, Kevin, let's keep it going here. SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans on another beautiful day here in Northern California. Oakland in the 70s as you take a look at the Bay Bridge connecting Oakland and San Francisco. A beautiful day, but a very windy day. So appropriately, we have ESPN's Brian Windhorst joining me now with further insight into these. Thank you. So much to absorb from what Woj just said, and I know you have more.
Yeah, so there's good news and bad news for Lakers fans. The good news is that the New York Knicks, who could have bid against them strongly with their number 3 draft pick, appear not to be heavily involved in these talks right now, which means they look to be focused on R.J. Barrett at number 3 and moving forward from there. The bad news for the Lakers is that the Pelicans still don't like their offer. If they liked their offer, they wouldn't be out shopping the number 4 pick that they have in the offer. So the Lakers still may have to sweeten it, especially if the Pelicans cannot get that number 4 pick, a star for that number 4 pick. But I will say that this is really gaining traction. For the first time, to me, I genuinely believe that the Pelicans are serious about trading Anthony Davis. I don't think they were ever serious about doing it in February. I think they are serious about it now. The next 24, 48 hours could be very important.
That because of David Griffin now being in town?
And because they seem to want to take advantage of the draft coming up, whether it's acquiring the pick or flipping the pick to a player.